Alright, what's going on everybody? Anime Rambo back with another episode. Today we'll be discussing Kaiju number 8, chapter 76. What is going on? Well, if you remember where we left off from the last chapter, in quite a few chapters now, Kaiju number 9 has made his attack on Tokyo and pretty much all of Japan. He's attacking the infrastructure of Japan, trying to limit their resources and communication and things of that nature. And at the end of last chapter, Mina had finally made her debut. We don't know if this is her numbered weapon, but she is toting an impressive cannon. She is knocking down these super giant class kaijus. Again, I still think that's a very convoluted name. I'm just going to call them giant class kaijus from now on. But she has single-handedly managed to eliminate 6 giant class kaijus that were plaguing the battlefield. She does it without breaking a sweat. I was impressed and also in awe. At the same time, I'm like, you're not even breathing heavy. We don't even see sweat on your forehead. Like, you know what I'm saying? She finishes off the last kaiju this chapter, and she's just like, phew, right? Like, she's just like, oh god, that was a lot. Thank God that's over. I was like, if you could do that and not break a sweat, why are we even out here to begin with? Now, I know a lot of the defense force is just taking on, you know, the miniature or miniature-esque kaijus when it comes down to these types of attacks. We still don't know how effective Mina is in those types of combat situations where she has to take on miniature kaiju. She's not necessarily toting around the cannon or her rifle that she has. I don't think she's really well versed in hand-to-hand combat or weaponry outside of gun usage, so it's interesting to see her thrive in an environment. It's stated very clearly this chapter that she is the strongest or the best and most accurate when it comes to long-range attacks as well as giant class kaiju slaying potential. So she beats out Narumi, she beats out Hoshina, she beats out all the other division captains, and the current director general went on to state that she is the best in Japan. And then he like stops himself and he was like, no, she's the best in the entire world. But that whole quote where he was like, she's the best in the entire world, seemed more like hopeful will rather than a stated fact. We just simply don't know if she's the best in the entire world. But you know, this is Matsumoto's manga, so she probably is. I'm just not going to sit here and confirm it until we see other defense forces from around the country, if he chooses to go that route and introduce like an American defense force, Australian, just different countries in general. I'm rambling at this point, but after the initial takedown of the super giant class kaiju threats, the Alpha and Delta zones are pretty much cleared at this point, and so everybody's moving in to help the civilians, clear out more civilians, clear out the riffraff, leftover kaijus that may still be lingering around. So that's the entire plan. And you have the Director General say that this is odd, right? He says it just doesn't, it seems like something else is brewing. And what we know from Kaiju number 9 in the past is that generally what he'll do is he'll send out his kaijus to make a ruckus, basically be a distraction for him to go and do whatever it is that he needs to do in the background. That is not the case for Kaiju number 9 now. I think he's gathered everything that he needs to gather, so it's just nothing but hands that are being thrown at this point. Even after the defense forces managed to clear out the initial first wave of the kaiju attacks, he rings a dinner bell and then these Dai Kaijus pop up out of fucking nowhere. So this kind of blows out what it was that I was talking about last video, where I was like, well, essentially what it is that I just said. He's going off in the background to do something and he's not going to be on the front line to the very last minute. That's not the case. He rings the dinner bell, 3 Dai Kaijus appear. So the initial attack was, I'm guessing, something to just tire out the defense forces and tire out the people that he really wanted. He goes down a list. He wanted Kaiju number 8, and he goes down a list. He wanted Kaiju number 8, Narumi, because Narumi says they're probably after me, but Hikaru stops him and was like, nah, I got one in front of me too. And then there's also one that appeared in front of Hoshina as well. It makes sense why they're attacking Narumi. Alright, he has the first Dai Kaiju numbered weapon ever created. We don't know how long he's been around, but he has the very first one. Number 9 has already shown that he wants to make it apparent that he wants to reclaim the powers that fell from Kaiju's hands. He said something like that. It's not verbatim, but he wants to reclaim the powers that have fallen into the defense force's hands. We thought it was just number 8, and we thought it was just number 2, the one when Isayo went down. But no, it seems like he wants to make a run at all of the numbered weapons. So this goes back to a theory that I had. I never made a separate video and I never really talked about it again, but it was around that time we learned about the history of Dai Kaijus and stuff like that. And amongst like the very first Dai Kaijus from way back in the day, I'll try to have a picture put up so y'all know what I'm talking about. But I had made a very off comment and I was like, it's possible that Kaiju number 9 is that Kaiju from back then, the very first one, because we never actually saw it die. They were fighting by the river and we saw the kaiju dive into the river, but it was never stated that he had died. So you just gotta think, is this that kaiju from the past who's making his move, saying, okay, I want all of my brothers, all of my children, whatever the kaijus and daikaijus are to KN9, he's on a mission to reclaim all of those. And he wasn't able to get to Kafka because Kafka never transformed. So he was like, all right, I'm just gonna go to phase 2. He rings his dinner bell, and here we are. You have the water daikaiju who's facing off against Narumi. I don't know if that's a mismatch yet, but we'll find out in the next chapter. You have the Kikoru clone going up against Kikoru, which is very symbolic if this truly is a clone of Kikoru made from the, cells of her mother Hikari. And then you have, what is the last one? You have Hoshina going up against what looks to be Kaiju number 10's replacement. I mean, this really does look like Kaiju number 10 just with horns. So you got to think, if number 10, the original number 10, the one that was made into the numbered weapon for Hoshina right now, if that was the very first prototype Daikaiju that number 9 tried to create, this is like Daikaiju 10 2.0. So it's interesting to think what is going to happen. It was stated that they all have a fortitude of 9.0, but if you think about it, Kaiju number 10 also had a fortitude of 9.0, and that was dealt with rather quickly. Okay, now Hoshina was not at a point to where he could stand with a 9.0 Daikaiju by himself, which is why you had to have Kikoru help in, and then you had Kafka who finished the job off. But this is Hoshina after the training and after he has a numbered weapon to himself. So, I mean, if they have 9.0 right now, unless they increase that power to like 9.6, 9.7, 9.8, I imagine that Hoshina would be able to take care of this situation. Narumi is stronger than Hoshina, so he should definitely be able to take care of this situation. But I say that without knowing their abilities that they have, the powers that they possess. That could play an entirely different factor in all of this. Also, you have to look at Kaiju number 10 from back in the day, and much of what we saw from his fight with Hoshina in the past 2 chapters. He's not the smartest of people, right? He is a straight to the fray type of fighter. So, I mean, this could be much more difficult than what we're led on to be. This could also be a situation of just causing enough of a problem. I'm talking about Kaiju number 9, right? Causing enough of a problem to force Kafka out. This could all still just be for him to get a hold of Kafka and get Kaiju number 8 back into his possession. You got to think about that. Now, my predictions for what is going to happen is that I would argue that Kikoru probably has the most important fight out of these 3, right? Not the hardest fight, but definitely the most important fight, because this Kikoru clone has the ability to rally and organize the Daikaijus to at least some degree, right? She was the one who called them all initially. If you defeat her, in theory, they should disperse to a minimal degree, right? Or maybe a large degree. It might be like you cut the head off the snake and the body will follow. This Kikoru clone has the ability to rally and draw kaijus to her. You eliminate her, we're doing a little bit better. If not, you're captured, and well, now there's a problem, because now number 9 has the number 2 numbered weapon and the number 4 numbered weapon, the number 1 and the number 10. His army is going to bolster immensely. That's not even including the fact he himself has not got into this battle yet. But we're going to see in the upcoming chapters. I do want to bring up one more thing though, and that's the aspects of numbered weapon and the fact that they can erode. Maybe this is just something that happens with cannon weapons, because we've only heard about it when it comes to cannon weapons, but they have an erosion possibility, right? When the scientist guy and the scientist girl were talking about Mina and updating her on how many shots she had left, they mentioned the fact that, okay, hey, you have one more shot left in this cannon before the erosion affects it, and you have to replace, I guess, the damaged parts of the cannon, of the weapon, and we don't know how long that's going to take. If she had missed this shot, there's no guarantee that she would have got another cannon in 30 seconds, in 2 minutes, right, in an hour. This is a massive cannon that's mounted on the top of a skyscraper. They're not just going to replace this, and it's not a NASCAR pit stop. You hear what I'm saying? It's going to take some time. So for her to be as accurate as she is, it really does benefit it. And this is a pivotal role that, I mean, shit. I mean, I'm glad they only got one shot left, because I would have been shot at Kaiju. Well, they don't know where that nigga's at. Alright, I'm not going to say shoot it at Kaiju number 9, because again, you hit a smaller target, they can move faster, it's going to be a problem. So it's not viable in that aspect. You would imagine that Mina is going to eventually get down to ground level to help with this whole entire altercation. Maybe not necessarily with Hoshina, because he is a vice captain, not with Narumi, because he is a captain. This might be a situation of Mina having to go to Kikoru if she can't handle it, but I don't know why she wouldn't. I'm just saying, Mina doesn't actually get into legitimate altercations. She sits back, she shoots her gun, and that's pretty much her role. Despite the fact that she is a captain, she leaves most of that fighting up to Hoshina, and I get it. But at the same time, you got to be a lot more diverse in your role as a captain. I mean, she is better than Narumi at killing super giant class kaijus, but Narumi has been shown to handle giant class kaijus and miniature kaijus. Mina has not been shown to really handle miniature kaijus on the scale of these dai kaijus that we're seeing now, which is essentially human height by themselves. But we're gonna know in the upcoming chapter what it is that's gonna go on. I am excited as hell. I really want to know more about this brain kaiju that Kikoru is about to fight, because in my opinion, the similarities are just too spot on. I mean, she looks exactly like Kikoru. So I am under the impression that Kaiju number 9 had something to do with the Cataclysm 6 incident, and because he had something to do with the Cataclysm 6 incident, he gained access to Hikari's body, or at least some parts of her DNA, which is why they had a closed casket funeral, and from that she made this clone, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, but I think I rabbited on long enough. If you made it to the end, thank you. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash the subscribe button. Let me know you rock with the content that I put out on the channel. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Comment on the video your thoughts about what you think is going on. Do you think this is a Hikari / Kikoru clone? If that is the case, that would make this kaiju Kikoru's half-sister, if you really think about it. But let me know in the comment section what it is that y'all are feeling like. Did you like this chapter? I'm liking this entire arc altogether, but I will keep the content coming frequently as infrequent as humanly possible, and I'm out.